miss teachers. We all know her and love her to death, and she's a past guest here with me. But I wanted to bring Brittany on to talk about teaching and at home, because I talk to a lot of my clients and, some of my professional athletes. They're now teaching school when they were normally out doing others, and they're like, what the hell am I supposed to be doing? So wanted to bring you in, and I know there's a lot of experts out there, and you don't have all the answers, but you have a hell of a lot more than I do. So what would you tell our parents right now during this time to focus on school and homeschooling and all those factors?
I think the first thing I would say is take a deep breath, I
Yeah.
mean, take a deep breath, and that nobody's an expert at this point. I mean, we've not done this before. No
No.
one has. So I think there's this expectation that, we're supposed to have it all figured out, and why am I not being more patient? Why can I not do this? Why is this hard? Well, because we've never done it before, and nobody really knows how to navigate this. So I think the first thing is take a deep breath. For us as the parents and the adults, to offer ourselves some grace in that, and just
Mm.
recognizing that, like, I'm not a teacher. This is not my thing, and I
Yeah.
don't really like being around my kid 24 hours a day. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that's okay to admit, and I think we're all trying to act like we've got it all together when the reality is we don't. Um, I For me, in learning how to deal with the athlete in that learning environment, one thing that was really helpful for me was to recognize that for many athletes, getting the education is the way that they're playing sports.
Yeah.
It's not their priority. It's not the thing that they love. It's not the thing that's important to them. And that was really hard for me, from the person that was a rule follower, that had educated parents, and realized the value of education. It was hard for me to step back from my own values and recognize that everybody isn't like me. And
Mm.
I wasn't a star athlete. I wasn't talented in that area. So, I didn't have that to fall back on. Education was important to me, probably because I wasn't that great at anything else.
Right.
So I think to recognize first that, that it's okay that they're not fired up about it, that it's okay that, it's not their number one priority. For me, that was really important in recognizing. The other thing I think that is key in this situation and in working with athletes, I called it freedom within a framework.
Hmm.
That we can create the framework, but we have to allow the freedom inside of it for them to be who they are and for them to navigate it. And that means failing sometimes. Like,
Hmm.
that means making bad decisions and choices and not making the best of grades all the time. It means giving them the space to figure it out on their own. If we are controlling the entire frame, they're not learning, they're not growing, and they're becoming way too dependent on us to handle everything for them. They're not going to be able to do it on their own.
God, I love that, because I know the D I made in college changed my academic career. I switched
Absolutely.
majors. I went into psychology. I found something I loved. I know for my oldest daughter, she made 2 Ds in one semester because she was having some health issues, but it changed the way she studied. And she didn't struggle at all after that. And I think what's interesting is during this time, you know, I've seen some parents on social media, and I saw a very funny one. It was a guy was like, "Hello, Mrs. Thompson. I apologize for what I said about you in August." I mean, I thought it was hilarious. It was like, "You will take my kids back, right?" But they're so concerned of this is not like school.
No,
This is not a school environment.
no. And I think you have to think about that. Like, with my own, I have a 12-year-old,
Yeah.
and with her, I did sit down with her and I said, okay, we need a schedule. Now, notice I said we,
Yeah.
not you, because
Yeah.
that I have to model the behavior that I want her to. So
Absolutely.
if I don't have myself on a schedule, I can't very well be barking that at her. And so I said, we need a schedule. And then I handed her a sheet of paper and I said, make a schedule that you think will work for you.
Mm.
Not, here's my schedule and you're going to do it exactly like I have it mapped out for you. And she made a very responsible, she put thought into it because it was hers. I allowed her the
Yeah.
freedom to do it herself. I think that's really important. Having a schedule is important. Allowing your child or your young adult to make their own, I think, is equally as important. And then, there's some days we follow it to a T. there's some days we don't, and that's okay. There's some
Right.
days we show up for school and we're super motivated, and there's some days we show up for school and we're just not feeling it, and that's okay. So I think recognizing that like there's going to be good days, there's going to be bad days. I think the other thing we have to realize is at school, kids are sitting for 45 minutes, 50 minutes at a time in a classroom. And then there's breaks, there's social interactions, there's PE, there's their sport practice. There's other things that fill in that space. Even school is not just sitting at a desk
Yeah.
and learning. And so I think to try to say, okay, you're going to sit in front of this computer for 2 hours until you get all of your work done it's unrealistic. We don't even do that at school, in the classroom, to also
Great point.
eliminate the social interaction piece of it. I've had some people reach out and say, well, should I let my student get on Zoom or FaceTime with their friends and them all do their work together? Why not?
Yeah.
Occasionally, at school they're socially interacting, they're doing group projects, they're doing things together. So this notion that we have to take all of that out of the piece just because we're all isolated at home, I think it's important for them to have the social interaction.
Such a great point.
I don't think there's a whole lot wrong with that.
No, I don't think so either. It's interesting as you're saying that. I would think about if I was having to. We're helping. My youngest one will come in with some college stuff and have a couple questions, and she's taking psychology. I know your dad was a psychologist, and so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna help, and I'm like, hell, I don't know that stuff. Like,
right.
That's not even relevant to what I do. But it's interesting because I'm like, you need to do this, and she'll study. My youngest will. Oh, did I lose you? Oh, there you are. Okay. My youngest will study in her bed sometimes. I'm like, don't like that. But we're in a unique environment. Although she could come up to my office, we don't have a space in our rental house right now. We have a kitchen table. That's it.
Right.
And it's right in the middle of the room, and it's just not the most conducive environment. And it's been hard because I want her to learn the proper skills, but at the same time, what she's finishing in her college, it's not even. Hate to say it, it's really not an educational experience at this point. It's
right.
Get it done. Just get it done.
Yeah.
And I feel so bad for saying that because hell, I'm paying for it. But
right.
but I'm like, oh. So
and you know what? When in working with athletes, there were a lot of days where I would say that when we were in the actual school environment, where I would say to the guys, look, I understand that chemistry isn't important to you. I understand that you don't see the value and you don't see how you're ever going to use this ever. I get it. Get it done.
Yeah.
Like, just get it done. Do the best you can and get it done. Because sometimes seeing the value is not it's not important. It's just the fact that the box has to be checked.
Yeah.
So check the box, and then we'll move on. There will be some things that have value. There will be some classes that have value. There will be some that don't. And you know what? It's okay. Doesn't mean you can fail the ones that don't. Like, you still gotta get it done. With Kennedy, she has a desk, and we cleared a space. And I thought, okay, let's make a space where she can come in and do her work, and let's make it kind of feel like school, or feel like it's a kind of a professional space. Sometimes she sits at it and does her work there. Sometimes she's in the bed. I let it go. Look, where again, like whatever you're feeling that day, and you're getting it done. I think that's the key piece. So, I think a lot of times we want to control the situation to look like it would need to look for us.
Yeah. It's so funny. My dad was a hardcore academic guy, and wherever we'd move, he was in the military, we'd have a desk. And he was like, this is where you're going to study. And I would study in the living room while we watched sports together. And I would redo my notes or whatever. And he always used to say, you'll never go as far as you need to. And when you go to college, you got to find the quiet part of the library. And I think I went there my freshman year a couple of times and thought, this sucks. Like, I can't do this. And what I figured out in grad school is, because I kind of have the ADDs, is I would go to a coffee shop and I'd recopy my notes. Mm-hmm. And then I would study by watching people. Now, I wasn't really watching you or somebody else having a conversation, but I would go through it in my mind, but I'd use that as like a visual anchor. And when Yeah, and when I finished my doctorate, I remember seeing him at graduation, and I said, "Ha, you remember that?" You don't. I never use a desk. To this day, my desk in my office is a dining room table.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't stand the confinements of a desk. And it's you're right. I need to listen to my own advice and say, figure out your way.
Figure out your way. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think too, I've gone to traveled to a lot of schools, across the country. And I see when I was in school, everybody was sitting at your desk and
Yep.
you didn't move and you sat there and you were quiet and you raised your hand and that was how it was. But I think education has changed. I mean, I walk in schools now and you'll see kids laying in the hallway. They're in a class, but they're all spread out in a hallway. They're laying down. Their notes are scattered in front of them. Or you'll walk in a classroom and there'll be music playing and it's loud and everyone's kind of talking and you can tell they're working, but it's not quiet. And I think, again, some people learn in quiet, some people don't. I think it's, some people are better when they're moving. I think one thing for parents of athletes to really keep in mind is most athletes are kinesthetic learners. And this notion of online learning is really not conducive to kinesthetic learners at all.
No.
And I think, like you were saying, as an athlete, you sitting in front of the TV, I mean, you were associating what you were learning with plays that were being played on the screen or people that were walking by. That's in a sense.
Well, and what I could do is I could remember in a test question, I'd be like, oh, I was watching the football game.
Yep.
And then I could remember where it was on my paper.
Yeah.
And, it was very helpful.
Yeah. I used to have quarterbacks a lot because quarterbacks are so good at, checking the play or seeing it laid out in front of them, and they can remember things based on the movement of on the field. And so I used to have my quarterbacks throw the football while they would recite stuff, either
Really?
throw it to me or throw it to a teammate or throw it up in the air as they were reciting things, because I figured out real quickly that that's how their brain operates. It's all based on, that what they're seeing play out in front of them and that ball movement, and so I think, again, like right now, if they're standing in front of their computer and they're standing up and they're tossing a ball while they're trying to do the schoolwork, I mean, to incorporate some of that movement and some of that
Brilliant
kinesthetic learning into this online environment, I think is key for a lot of athletes. It's hard for athletes to sit still and focus for a long period of time.
That's brilliant. So one of the questions I have is, this is kind of and I know your interest in and concern about kind of the education disparity that we have in our country. And, I look at, I get a lot of questions of, hey, both parents in the household are working. How do we manage that with third graders? But how do we manage homes where we don't have two parents in the household? One parent is working 12, 14 hours a day to pay the bills, particularly in this economy. And you have, 3 to 6 kids at home that are different ages. What are we going to do? What's going to be the long-term impact of this? Oh, there you are.
I lost you for a second there.
Okay. So what's going to be the what's going to be, it's my internet connection. Sorry. What's the long-term impact of that education disparity right now?
I think it's devastating. I think it'll be tragic. I think again, as it seems to always play out in this country, it will become the difference in the haves and the have-nots. I don't necessarily buy into the single parent household thing anymore, because I feel like more households are single parent households than the opposite. So I don't know that it's a single parent household issue. I think it's an issue of money. I think it's an issue of people that have the resources and the money and those that don't. I think a lot right now of these kids who don't have Wi-Fi.
Yes. What are we supposed to do there?
I wonder, like, what school, if schools have even taken that into consideration. I hope they have. I haven't seen a lot of it. I have seen a lot about the food, these meals being provided, which was a huge concern of mine initially.
Yes.
I haven't seen a lot about.
I did see Hoover School System armed the buses with mobile Wi-Fi spots, and they would go park in certain neighborhoods of high densities to create a Wi-Fi signal for the students to be able to tap into.
Great idea.
But that's a wealthy school district.
Yeah. You wonder what I mean, not to call them
Yeah.
out, but Birmingham City
Mm-hmm.
schools are doing. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know. I feel like, again, there will be an entire class of people left behind
Yes.
through this. And there will be the students like my daughter who really it doesn't phase. You know,
Yeah.
she's gonna sit down and do her work and she's probably gonna make 100 and she doesn't really need, I mean, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
There will be that class of people that progress and they learn what they need to learn to be successful next year. And then there will be an entire class of people that progress with complete concepts they haven't
Yes.
learned. I mean, I think about those kids that are in like third, fourth grade who are learning division,
Yeah.
multiplication, and they're not learning those concepts. Well, are we gonna take that into consideration next year and say like, okay, let's spend the first 2-3 months of the school year recapping what you were supposed to teach yourself? Because I dealt with athletes all the time that were 18, 19 years old flunking out of college algebra because they had never learned the concept of division in fourth grade. And no one had ever stopped all of their years of education and taught them this concept. You know, you look at people that are reading on a fourth grade reading level that are 20 years old. Well, it's because when they were supposed in fourth grade, that concept, whatever that was, they weren't getting, no one stopped and caught them up. And so I think about this entire year, like how many key concepts in these kids' lives and these kids' educational experience are they not learning? And how is that going to affect them, not just 2 years from now, but 10 years from now?
Yeah. We saw it firsthand in my own family when we moved, when my oldest daughter was in first grade. We moved and she was in between time concepts in class.
Mm-hmm.
And we moved down here. They had already done it. Where we moved from, they hadn't done it yet. And so she lost confidence in math as a first grader. And it was a battle for 11 or 12 years because she was actually really good at it, but she just never felt confident because she missed those building blocks.
Yep. Yeah. Or, you know, some people you have that teacher that you don't connect with.
Yeah.
And so you automatically, there's this wall because of, I mean, there's so many reasons why concepts aren't learned by students, but unfortunately, I think it happens way more frequently to those kids that are low socioeconomic, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know how those students, and even the ones with Wi-Fi, you wonder, you know, that if they do have a parent that's working right now, you know, is working their tails off to make this country run right now.
Yeah.
And they're not there, and these students are left at home to navigate all of this alone. It's a scary thing. I work with an at-risk program in Pennsylvania, a school there that is they take kids that have already been kicked out of the public education system, and it's like an alternative school, I guess, system in Pennsylvania. And I was talking to their principal a couple days ago, and I think about them every day because these are kids that come from horrible home lives.
Yeah.
I mean, abuse and addiction and horrible home lives. And school for them is safe. It's a safe place. It's an outlet. It's so much more than school. And I am so worried about those kids now being home and being in that environment. Some of them being on the street. I mean, some of them are homeless. So being on the street now, and you just think about it's bigger than, you know, 3 + 3 is 6.
Yeah. We're going to lose those kids.
It's social emotional needs.
Yeah.
It's safety. Yeah, it's sad. And I think that it will be a huge issue again, not just, I don't know that it'll play out next year. I think we're talking 10 years down the road, we'll start to see the effects of those children that we lost during this time.
Yeah, it was interesting. One of the Birmingham celebrities, Funny Mane, you know, who does the funny Alabama videos. But when this first happened, he put out a brilliant tweet and it said, one thing we got to pray for is our kids that are going home to domestic violence, who are now going to be in the hot box every day with parents, and they can't get away to school to ask for help.
Yep.
They've got bad coping at home. Their family's got bad coping at home. They don't have a escape. And to your point, those at-risk kids who it's just easier to, where they may have never had anybody who believed in them until they went to school and somebody could believe in them. Now that person is removed from them.
Right.
It scares me.
Kids that the only hugs they get, the only smiles they get are teachers and co-work, other people that work at the school. And you just hope, I know that there are some amazing teachers out there, and I want to cling to the fact that those teachers care about those students and are reaching out and in constant communication, and that those kids are still getting some kind of interaction with those important people in their lives. I want to cling to that and hope that that's happening, or that there's people in the community that recognize who these kids are, and somehow we're helping them.
Well, the thing that's scary is we can't say go to the Boys and Girls Club because you can't go. It's shut down.
I did see, I follow Big Brother, Big Sister on social media, and the Birmingham chapter, I did see they're doing a lot of Zoom interactions with, and I guess they're providing, I don't really know how that's happening with the kids, again, that maybe don't have a computer or don't have internet, but I did see some Zoom sessions happening with the mentors and the little brothers and little sisters. I think that's just so important right now. And, I love seeing the teachers and the schools and the organizations that are kind of trying to fill in as many of the blanks as we can. These churches that are providing the food. I just think it's so important for us. I said it recently that for me, this pandemic is different from any other tragedy that we've had in my lifetime, and the thing I guess that I can relate to this the most is 9/11.
Yeah.
But in 9/11, we were called together. Like, we were called to come out of our houses and not have fear. We were called to hold hands and come together and unite as Americans and hug each other and love each other and support each other. And it's like, this is the only thing in my life I've experienced where we're being called to separate.
Yeah.
Like, to do the opposite.
Well, it goes against the social connection that we all thrive for as humans, right? Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Andrew, we'd all end up on, I didn't go through Katrina, but I went through Andrew. We were all out on the streets cooking our freezer food.
Absolutely. I was in Katrina, and we were bonding as a community over helping each other rebuild our houses. Yeah. And so this is different in that we're all being called to separate. And I think it's so important for us to find ways, even though we're physically separated, to continue to find ways to love, connect, support, and care about each other, regardless of the physical distance. And to me, my passion are those kids, like those kids that go to Birmingham city schools, that live in horrible spots of wherever, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Chicago, and do not have the same resources. They don't have the same opportunity to be successful during this time as kids like my child.
Yeah. What do you think about colleges that are doing pass fail?
I don't know. And again, I just keep telling myself, everybody's trying to make the best decision that they can.
Yeah.
And so just hold your judgment, because we've never navigated this. And so I just, there's a part of me that just thinks, there's some smart people that sat around a table and this was what they felt like was the best decision. So who am I to beat them up for it? Like, and I don't know all that goes into that decision-making process. So, if it works and it's a way
gets us through,
keep these students successful, and keep them, I look at it as probably a retention solution. Like, how do we keep these students? How do we retain them? Like, how do we keep them coming back? The fear of like, well, they're all going to flunk out, and then we're not going to have any students when we do come back. So how do we minimize that? And if that's what we have to do to continue to have education and students wanting to get it, then okay. I think that's the most important part, is that when we open our doors back up, that we still have students that want to go and that they still feel like it's valuable.
How does that impact I wonder how that impacts NCAA eligibility. Is they're just going to give a waiver for everybody? I mean, that's all I can think of.
Yeah, and I've thought about that a lot. I'm said my gratitudes that I'm still not the counselor at East Mississippi Community College during this time, because I have no idea. I mean, I think about that poor woman that has that job now, and I'm like, I have no idea how I would have navigated this situation, because I know that I would get 75% of those football players don't have computers, don't have internet. And I'm just thinking, how in the world is she able to manage their eligibility at this moment? I would think that there's going to have to be the NCAA and the NJCAA are going to have to offer massive academic forgiveness during this time.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't see any other way.
It's interesting.
I mean, I don't know. And,
do you think this is
about the disparity? Because you think about the kids that go to Power 5 schools that are probably given laptops or given iPad, and then you think about the kids that go to Montevallo, who, I mean, and it's not the same. How can you judge and punish them the same when their resources are not the same?
Well, I was online this morning and I saw somebody posted about free online education classes from Harvard. So I went on there and there's a leadership class. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'm thinking there's so much access, but what do you do for people who don't have access? I mean, we just take it for granted that, oh, you get online, you and I are going to chat this way and it's all going to be fine. But, people, that's, we pay, God, in our house, $100 and some a month for internet.
Hey, look, I'll be honest. I mean, when did Last Chance U come out? 5 years ago?
Yeah.
I didn't have Wi-Fi when it came out.
Really?
I didn't have Wi-Fi, and I didn't have Netflix because I didn't have Wi-Fi. I was a single mom living in Meridian, Mississippi. I had a 40-mile commute one way to my job that I made $45,000 a year, and I was not on the list. Like it just wasn't in the top 10 things that were important. And it wasn't an expense I could really afford. I just didn't see it as a necessity, and we didn't have it. And I think about that all the time. Like if this had happened 5 years ago, I wouldn't have access. I mean, and I'm an educated, people would have dubbed me then as an educated, successful person. And I mean, I didn't have.
All right. So I got to ask you this, being a Netflix star, you've watched Tiger Kings, right?
I hate to admit that I have watched that trash.
It's so good, isn't it?
I hate to admit it. I feel like it takes my level of like competency down a notch, but I have watched it.
Oh God. I got to tell you a story though. And this is a stalking story on you. So don't take this the wrong way. So you were, the week before everything got closed down, you were going to New York City.
I was in New York City when they declared a state of emergency.
Yes. So my wife and daughter, my college-age daughter, were sitting in front of you on the plane to New York City.
Why did they not say?
Well, I was down in Jacksonville, and my youngest daughter loves you. And she texted me, oh my God, Brittany's sitting behind us on the flight. And I said, and by the time I got it, they were already off the flight and missed you and everything. But, would they come back from that? And I'm like, wait, y'all were all in New York City during this.
I know.
I mean, yeah, they went to Broadway shows, and Missy, my wife, is a nurse, and she kept calling saying, people are really wearing a lot of masks up here, and it's kind of like scary. And, they left on Thursday and got home, and she got home and she was like, oh my God, we have no toilet paper. We have nothing.
Oh yeah.
I mean, yeah, but my youngest daughter was like, oh my God, I'll have to get you connected with her after all this is over.
Yeah, I can't believe she didn't say anything.
I know. She was like, I'm not going to. I didn't find out about it till afterwards, but,
I was shocked at how many people were on the flight, because I was kind of in the spot where, like, should I go?
Yeah.
Should I not go? And I ended up going, and all I had meetings, and of course half my meetings were towards the end of the week, all my stuff got canceled, and I was there, and when the day that they started shutting everything down and state of emergency, and you walked outside, it was eerie to walk out, in New York City and like there not be people, and there were guys in hazmat suits like spraying disinfectant on the buildings and stuff. I was like, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
My flight got canceled, and
oh really?
I don't know if they had a problem getting back, but they didn't. I had a problem getting home, and by the time I got home, and then I was terrified that I was staying in a hotel, and I was staying in the financial district. So my hotel it was all business people from all over the world.
All over the world, yeah.
Sweden, France, England, there were people from everywhere staying in that hotel, and there was only one restaurant, one bar in the hotel. So we were all crammed into that space trying to eat dinner because nobody was going anywhere. And I kept thinking, there's no way that I don't have this, like, after that. And so I didn't quarantine the way that people, say we should, but I stayed low for 14 days.
Well, we had done
I was okay.
2 weeks prior to that, we were in New Orleans at Mardi Gras.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So our friends are like, yeah, we're not, like, we don't really want to, like, see y'all.
Yeah.
And my wife, she had a couple of days of, like, a brutal headache.
Oh gosh. See, I would have freaked out.
Yeah. And she was like, later we've looked at it and she's like, oh, maybe my body was fighting something, and it was interesting because it's just made us so aware of what we feel. And
yeah. Well, I was popping vitamins and like immunity, those immunity shots you get.
Yeah.
I was like, if I have it, I'm going to do it. I was like running 3 miles a day. Like, I'm going to tell my body that I'm just going to keep telling my body, like, we're okay. We're okay. But I'll tell you, I had a meeting on Tuesday with Michael Strahan.
Wow.
I had lunch with Michael Strahan. Yeah. I have a new TV show coming out that he's a producer on. And
I want to hear about that in a minute.
Yeah. So I had lunch with him on Tuesday. And, we were kind of joking, like, because this was kind of at the point where it wasn't that serious yet. We weren't really, we were kind of like, what is this about, this Corona thing? And so we walk into the restaurant, we hug, we're sitting close, talking, having lunch. And fast forward 7 days, and I'm home, and it's like the entire state of New York and all these people in Good Morning America were getting it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I had lunch with Michael Strahan, who has been in contact with how many thousands of people over the course, and I just kept waiting to get the text, from him. That
I'm
said,
positive.
I tested positive, but he's good. I'm good. All is good.
Now we're out of the window. Yeah, it's funny. Tell us about the new show.
I'm super excited.
You should be.
Amazing. So Strahan and Courtney Cox and myself are executive producers on this new scripted series.
From Meridian, Mississippi to
executive producer, which I laugh because I'm like, my entire life has basically been fake it till you make it. I mean, people are like, what's your secret? I'm like, fake it till you make it. Like, don't let anyone know that you don't know what you're doing ever. And so this is another piece of my life where I have no idea what I'm doing, and I'm
That's
like
cool.
figuring it
out. Yep.
Yeah, I'm figuring it out as we go along. But we are doing a scripted series, and it's the media has dubbed it a spinoff of a scripted Last Chance U, which is not at all what it will be.
Of course not. Yeah.
That would not be exciting. So it is a scripted series about my life, basically, as an academic counselor to athletes, but also as a single mom, also as a woman working in a man's world, basically. Yep. So there will be a lot of different kind of themes. But we're gonna take you back to like my first day at East Mississippi and tell some stories of some athletes that didn't get told on Netflix. So start you from the beginning of my journey, and then hopefully have a lot of seasons that we can take you kind of all the way through.
Beautiful.
To where I am now.
Where's it going to be? Do we know?
We do not know when it is coming out. We are in the writing. We have 2 fantastic writers. One of our writers was a writer on True Detective.
Oh, wow.
So he's super talented. Both of them are. And so we are in the writing process now. It is long. It is long and tedious. But hopefully, and this has kind of slowed us down a little bit, but hopefully, we'll get rolling here. Yeah. Get going a little faster.
Destination network or streaming? Or?
Charter Communications bought it. So
wow.
Charter Communications Spectrum. bought it. So we don't really know. TV is a weird thing.
Yeah.
A network can buy it and then they can sell it, or they can house it for a little while and then sell it. So, but Charter has it. We love them. I love the fact that Spectrum Originals is run by, it's an all-female
sweet
executive team.
Yeah.
So Catherine Pope is the CEO of Spectrum Originals, and she was with NBC when Courtney was on Friends. So there's a connection there. She's a huge Last Chance U fan. So it's a neat team.
Sharon Scott, is she in that at all? Is Sharon Scott?
I don't know. I love Courtney.
Birmingham girl.
Birmingham girl. She's just a good. I love that both people, Strahan and Courtney, are just good people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they just are. They're good people. They're down to earth. We text, we talk. It's not like they're up here and I don't ever communicate with them. I mean, we're in constant communication, and I love her. I think she's going to do an amazing job. She's very passionate about this project. I mean, let's face it, she doesn't have to work. I mean, she doesn't have to do this.
Yeah, Friends is on nonstop.
Yeah, she's doing all right. But I think, she's at a point in her life where she wants roles that she is passionate about. She wants to tell good stories, and she wants to be in good shows that have good positive messages, and she wants to portray strong women. And so that was what drew her to this, I think. And I mean, I am like, what?
Yeah. I can imagine that first call. I mean, how did that even happen? I mean, were you like, I got
an email from Strahan's people. And I'm reading this email and I'm like, what? Michael Strahan? Like,
we need you to send me $10,000 to donate, to put $5 million in your bank. I've been stranded on an island.
I'm like, what are you talking about? Why is Michael Strahan? And we had a conference call, and Courtney was on the call, and I remember she was in London at the time, and so she was conferencing in from London. I mean, and it was the time difference, and so I was on this phone call with Strahan's team and Courtney herself and me, and I remember the minute she spoke, just her voice. I mean, and just kind of bracing myself and thinking like, oh my gosh, like she's for real on this phone call with me right now. Like, what is going on? She knows who I am.
Right.
So
Strahan came out of your world though, so it would have been like, there's another player. Yeah, he's a good one. I mean, he's incredible. But I could see you like, but she, you've been around athletes who have been very, very successful.
Right. Well, right. And it would make sense for him to have watched it and been drawn to, I mean, he had an academic counselor, so it would kind of make sense for him to watch it and be drawn to it.
Yeah.
But for her to watch it and be drawn to it and be drawn to my character, to me was just, you that's when you pinch yourself and go, wow, that, this is bigger than me.
Yeah.
This is a moment that is bigger than me. But I can't wait to get, the writing process is really fun, and it's been interesting to see how that works because I don't know anything about Hollywood. But I can't wait to get to the point where it's being filmed and we're in production.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's going to be amazing. Yeah.
That is amazing. Well, listen, you're amazing. Thank you for doing this. Thanks for your friendship and connection and everything. And we'll be keeping our eye out. So, it should be fun.
Yeah, definitely. And stay safe. Tell your daughter hello.
I will.
Next time I'm flying with her, she better speak.
Well, you may be flying private in the future.
No, whatever. I will never do that.
Okay, hold on. Let me get that on record.
I got to stay humble,
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'll make sure that she hears this. And thank you for everything. And thanks for helping out our parents and our kids out there.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
You got it. Take care.
All right. Bye.